A little bit of news before I get into the wrestling stuff. For those of you who've been following my Godzilla movie review series, I am happy to announce that Part 4 is done. It's completely filmed, it's completely edited together, all I gotta do is post it. I didn't accidentally delete any of it, it's done, it's finished, and finally I can put that whole project to rest. And so that video, that'll be the next video that goes up, so that'll be up sometime this weekend. And then the next video after that will be my reaction and review of the Legendary Pictures film, which I'm seeing on the 15th, 8 p.m., that night. So here's hoping. Early screenings indicate that the movie's really good. So hopefully it lives up to that. I would be very upset if I had to live through another disappointing Godzilla movie. But time to talk some wrestling pay-per-views. And WWE obviously had a pay-per-view Sunday night. But before I talk about that, I do want to talk about Ring of Honor and an upcoming pay-per-view event that they have. They've been doing some cross-promotional stuff with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I admit I haven't followed it that closely because I just I fell out of interest and I fell out of habit of following Ring of Honor because their product just kind of got stale and boring, so I just kind of stopped watching it. But I took a look at this card that they're going to have, and this pay-per-view is on the 17th. It's called War of the Worlds, and it's basically Ring of Honor versus New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I took a look at that card, and I'm like, man, I kind of want to see that. So, two matches that really caught my eye are the Young Bucks versus Red Dragon. And I saw Red Dragon live, the WrestleMania 29 show that Ring of Honor did. I was at that show, and they worked with the Wolves, and they had a hell of a match, and was really good. So, hey, awesome tag team stuff. And I like the Young Bucks, so I was like, oh yeah, this could be pretty good. And another match is for the IWGP Championship. AJ Styles defending against Michael Elgin. And, of course, AJ just won the title this weekend, and that sets up this match. And I saw Elgin... Okay, I have to ask, is it Elgin or Elgin? Because I've heard it both ways, and I've never had a confirmation on that, but whatever. I saw him live at that same Ring of Honor show, WrestleMania 29 weekend, and he had a match with Jay Lethal that I thought was the best match of the show. I thought it was unbelievable, and I really loved it. So, and he looked like a star after working that match. So to put him in there with AJ Styles... kind of want to see that. I kind of want to see that match. So, also, Jushin Thunder Liger is going to be getting a shot at the Ring of Honor World title, and I don't even know if Liger can still go. I don't know, but I'd be interested in seeing it because I've always liked Liger. So it's like, oh, let's see what the old man can still do. Last time I saw Liger, he looked pretty good. So we'll see. So yeah, I think I'm going to check this show out. The card looks interesting. So. Yeah, Ring of Honor. I'm gonna give you a shot. Hopefully the pay-per-view stream doesn't crap out again, and we don't have any of those problems again. Here's hoping. But yeah, Ring of Honor, New Japan, War of the Worlds. Looks like it could be a really good card. So here's hoping for the best. So I'm going to be checking that out, but I have to talk about Extreme Rules. Saw that last night. I'm actually getting ready to watch Raw right as I'm filming this. So literally, I'm going to shut the camera off and then I'm going to turn Raw on. So, I don't know. This video is not going to reflect how they follow up on any of this with Raw, unfortunately. But it's just the way my schedule worked out. So, what did I think of the show? Well, this is one of the strangest reviews I'm ever going to give for a pay-per-view because on paper, the results and who went over was exactly what I would have done. Like, as far as, like, picking who wins all the matches, it's like, yes, Cesaro goes over. Absolutely. Shield goes over. Barrett wins the IC title. Yes, absolutely. Bray goes over Cena. No doubt in my mind. That's exactly what it should be. Bryan retains the title over Kane. Yes, absolutely. That's what it should be. And they pretty much went across the board and gave me all the results that I would have done in those situations, and that's fine and that's great and everything. The execution wasn't entirely on point though, and there were some cases where it was a little sloppy and a little weird how they did some things, and it wasn't executed as well. And there was one instance when the execution was absolutely terrible, and I'll get into that. So it was a very weird show to review because it's like none of the results pissed me off. It's just the execution of some of the matches wasn't entirely there. But let me start off with the pre-show match, which I feel like I have to talk about. The WLC match between El Torito and Hornswoggle, and I have to say, There were a lot of dumb puns and a lot of stupid jokes and of course I made the crack that if Peter Dinklage was dead, he'd be rolling over in his grave right now, because it's just like, wow, does this set your kind back, a couple decades or something? I don't know, because Peter Dinklage is a guy that I really respect, and I think he's kind of the MVP of Game of Thrones, and he's really shown that little people, they can carry serious roles, and they can be just as talented and just as good as any normal-sized actor, quote-unquote normal. What is normal, anyway? And then you flip on WWE, and it's like, no, midgets are there for laughs, and that's it. And some of the puns were terrible and everything, but I have to say the match was actually kind of entertaining, and some of the bumps they took were pretty extreme, and I kind of felt bad for them, because it's like, oh man, they are taking some of these bumps where Drew McIntyre did a flip dive over the ropes and through a table, and they did that spot where the Matadors, and I think it was Jinder Mahal and Torito splashed him, and they all fell into this table ladder stack, and there were a bunch of table spots and everything. I'm like, they're doing all these kind of sick spots, and I'm just like, the sad thing is that this whole thing is a joke and people are laughing at it, and even the commentators are just making jokes as they do all these stunts, and I'm like, that's not going to feel good, and these are dangerous spots, and it's played for laughs, and I'm like, I kind of feel bad for them, that they're really working their asses off, and people are laughing at them, but it actually wasn't a terrible match, I have to say, and they actually did work hard out there, and they tried to make something entertaining out of it, so A for effort, I'll give it that, and for a pre-show match, it was perfectly fine, but and who'd have thought that I would say that? But let's go into the main show. We opened up with the three-way dance, triple threat elimination match, whatever you want to call it. Antonio Cesaro versus Rob Van Dam versus Jack Swagger. Again, I like that Cesaro went over. That's totally cool. Some of the execution in this match was a little sloppy, and I think people seemed confused that this was an elimination match, which okay, I don't watch SmackDown, and that's apparently where the announcement was made that this was an elimination match, but it said on the graphic that it was an elimination match, so I wasn't confused. But no, the crowd seemed confused by it, and the announcers even seemed confused. They didn't seem to know that it was an elimination match, so I don't know what happened there and why everybody, what was the lack of communication there, but it created a little bit of awkwardness when the first elimination happened, and everybody was kind of, like I said, they just were kind of confused. And towards the end of the match, Rob Van Dam was basically just putting Cesaro in place. It's like, all right, be there so I can hit Rolling Thunder. Be there so I can hit the split-legged moonsault, which is a majority of what Rob Van Dam does. That said, Cesaro looked like a star in this thing. I mean, that dude is as strong as an ox. I mean, that superplex that he does from the apron is just unbelievable. That is incredible feats of strength. And Cesaro looks great there, and fortunately, he won, and that was the result that should have happened. So it was like, all right, Cesaro looked good. Not my favorite match ever, but again, the right guy won, and overall it was okay for what it was. And the one spot I really liked was, I talked about the superplex spot. They did that, but then Rob Van Dam came off the top at the 5-star and eliminated Swagger. I'm like, that was actually a really cool thing, and actually a bit of a modification of Power and Glory's old Powerplex finisher. For you old school tag team buffs out there. So, yeah, that was the opening match. Then we got the 2-on-1 handicap match, which wasn't a 2-on-1 handicap match because Xavier Woods got knocked out before the match started, so it was just a 1-on-1. I'm like, well, what was the point of making it 2-on-1 then if you were just going to have a 1-on-1 match? But, okay, sure. And if you're going to pick one to go up against Rusev, I would have preferred it to be Xavier Woods because I like him more. I've never liked R-Truth. Never. I'm kind of happy to see him getting squashed because I'm like, whenever he would get main event pushes, I would just be like, why? Why is that a thing? I never saw the appeal in him. I'm sorry, but and this match was just kind of blasé and boring. And squash matches can be fun. This wasn't fun. It was just, big guy acts like a brute and beats the guy, and that's pretty much it. And Rusev, his presentation, I've said it before, is kind of cheesy, and the music especially, it's hilarious. Lana's hot, though, and of course I get to make all sorts of Archer and Danger Zone jokes, so just because of her name, and that makes me happy. And the only spot they did that was kind of cool was the spin kick, which was shocking because people didn't know that Rusev could do that, but other than that, this was just a time killer, nothing else. Moving right along, IC title, Bad News Barrett wins the IC title. And who would have ever thought that I would like Wade Barrett? But, it's almost like the WWE planned it this way. They gave this character a platform, had him cut promos for months. They got the character over, got the catchphrase over, and then they had him win a string of matches to build him up to a championship, and then he wins the fucking championship. It's like, oh my god, it's like somebody actually, remembered how to build up a character. It's crazy. It's like, because normally they don't put this much effort into it. And I actually do like Bad News Barrett with this gimmick and everything. It's funny. They had him be the leader of a stable that was mimicking, for all intents and purposes, the NWO. Although not necessarily exactly like them, but it was meant to be that same type of thing. They had him be the leader of that faction, and I couldn't care any less about him. And it's just funny now he's doing this kind of comedy gimmick, and I think he's really funny. I think he's entertaining, and it makes his matches more interesting because I'm invested in the character. So I'm happy he won. The match itself was kind of blasé. The crowd could not possibly care any less about Big E Langston. I'm sorry, it's just Big E now because Vince goes on these kicks where he has to drop names. I don't know why. Vince is weird. I don't know. And the match wasn't anything to write home about. But, like I said, the right guy won, so I'm not going to complain too much. And then we come to the match of the night. Shield versus Evolution was awesome. I really, really enjoyed this. Just a nice, wild tag team brawl. The Shield looked amazing in there, and they didn't look out of place at all working with guys like Evolution who are established stars and big main event players and former world champions and everything. And the Shield looked like they belonged in there with them. And just the chemistry that those three guys have together, it's unbelievable. And what all three of them bring to the unit. Dean Ambrose is special. Seth Rollins is special. He's going to get himself killed one day with all these dives that he does. Because it seems like every match he does 2 or 3 dives that just make me go, oh, dude, stop it. You're going to hurt yourself. And Roman Reigns is a beast. And, I mean, it's kind of like Roman Reigns is the muscle, Seth Rollins is the heart, and Dean Ambrose is the brains. And that's kind of, they all bring something different to the group. It's kind of, I hate to compare it to Ghostbusters, but it's kind of like that, where Egon's the brain, Peter's the mouth, and Ray is the heart of the group. And it's, they all just bring something different to the unit. And I love watching the Shield, and I love them as baby faces, because they haven't watered them down yet. They just let them be the Shield, and it gets over. And to see them kick ass on guys like Evolution, it's awesome, and we love it. And they're a lot of fun, and it was very satisfying to see them win. And the brawl through the crowd was actually really well done, too, and I really enjoyed that part of it. And kudos to Evolution for letting the Shield work with them and actually letting it be the best match possible, because Triple H, when he does business and he works to make the guys look good, he's great. He did it at WrestleMania last month with Daniel Bryan. It's when I see matches like some of his matches with Lesnar where he makes Lesnar look like dog shit, like the cage match they had last year where I just get frustrated. But no, the Shield came off looking like megastars here, like they should. And thank God they didn't do the Ric Flair heel turn that I was thinking of. I thought they set it up on Raw this week, and thank God that didn't happen. Just let the Shield win, and we can move on and be happy and be merry. Apparently Batista's getting close to being done with the company, so I guess the end result shouldn't be too much of a surprise getting that bit of news. But I'm just happy the Shield won, and I'm happy that it was a very good match in the process. Really, really liked it. Very good match. Best part of the show. Now let's move to the worst part of the show. The part that I talked about where the execution was absolutely terrible. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt in a steel cage match. And what do I say about this match? What is there to really, really say? I got nothing. It was a train wreck. It was just the most overbooked, ridiculous thing that I've ever seen. And history lesson for those of you younger fans who don't know, the point of a steel cage match originally was to keep outside interference out of the match. And that's what this match was sold on. Cena was like, I'm going to get Bray one-on-one. And that's the point of the cage match. That's not what we got. It was basically a 3-on-1 handicap match where Cena beat the ever-living shit out of the Wyatts the entire time, and there was so much interference, it might as well have been a 3-on-1 handicap. It was more of a handicap match than the Rusev match was. It was just the most ridiculous thing. And another thing I don't like about modern-day cage matches, I really wish it would either be escape the cage or traditional rules of winning by pinfall or submission. I hate it when it's both, because it creates too many conflicts and too many, I guess we can say, holes in logic, where the rules contrast with each other. Like, John Cena kept trying to climb out of the cage. Like, the entire match, he just kept trying to climb out and kept trying to climb out, and Rowan and Harper kept him in. Stop trying to climb out of the cage. You can win by pinfall. And there's a lot of situations like that where the rules clash with each other. Another one that bugs me, to give an example of what I'm talking about, I hate it in Falls Count Anywhere matches where rope breaks count. That makes no sense. It's Falls Count Anywhere, the ropes designate out of bounds. In Falls Count Anywhere, there is no out of bounds. Ropes shouldn't count for shit. It's just, can we make the rules make sense, please? It's just shit like that. This is the shit that keeps me up at night, that I nitpick to holy hell and I complain and bitch about all the time. But this match was just dreadful. I mean, it was just so many smoke and mirrors and so many, so much outside interference and so many, overdoing it to protect Cena. It was so much, I'm like, well, Cena's got to lose now, because it's just, they've had everything under the sun fall on top of him, and he's still not beaten yet. So it's like, he's gonna lose just because they're just throwing so much on top of him that they want it to be the most tainted victory in the history of cage matches. And of course, eventually John Cena falls to a kid that looked like Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle. Are they going to explain who the kid is? I don't know. I know it plays into the whole angle that they're doing where Cena cares about the kids and Bray's brainwashing the kids or whatever, but it didn't came off. It came off in a way that elicited laughs rather than like shock and horror. And again, that's part of the problem with this whole angle where they're making it sound like Bray getting the fans to boo Cena is something new. It's like, look, dude, seriously, we've all hated Cena. This is nothing new. I mean, I've hated him since 2005, so we're going on almost a decade here. And I actually hated him before then, but 2005 was when it really started, the mixed reactions and everything. And they're making it sound like it's this new thing, and it's not. It's whatever. But yeah, this match was terrible. Bray won, of course, which I'm happy about, but it was done in such a shitty way that it almost kind of tainted the whole thing. And it's like, really, did you have to have... I don't know. It was just an overbooked mess. There's really nothing else to say about it. It was a disaster and the worst match on the show, because it got to a point where it just became a joke. It became a parody of itself, and I just couldn't stand watching it anymore. And next after that, we got the Divas title match, Paige versus Tamina, I'm sorry. It was purely filler, but I have to say, I know a lot of internet fans like Paige, and I can understand why. And I'm not discounting her ability. I'm really not. I didn't see her in NXT. I don't watch NXT. I've only seen it like once or twice, but I'm not bashing her as a talent. What I am bashing is the booking, because I've watched her on Raw, and I watched her at this pay-per-view, and the fans are acting like they have no idea who she is. And, it's kind of the opposite of what I said about Bad News Barrett, where they spent months building that character up, and then eventually building him to a title. Paige literally won the Divas title her first night in. No promos, no vignettes. The fans have no idea who this person is. They have no idea who the character is. They have no grasp on what the character is. And as a result, they're not reacting to her. And again, that's not her fault, but it's just bad booking. I feel like they could take any diva, put them in this spot, and it would be exactly the same. It wouldn't change the story. It wouldn't change anything. Paige is a better worker. That's really the extent of change that you're getting. But really, as far as a character and a story perspective, there's really no difference in having Paige or any other diva there. You can just as easily have one of the Bellas in that same spot, and it wouldn't make any of the difference, except for the fact that the fans actually know who the Bellas are, and they're on the reality show, and they know one's dating Cena and the other one's married to Daniel Bryan and all that stuff. So they have something to latch onto with the Bellas. Paige, there's nothing. There's nothing, and she hasn't been given anything for the fans to latch onto. So that's a major problem. And is kind of... They made the same mistake with Gail Kim. I remember they had Gail Kim win the women's title her first night in the company, and that was way back in... That was 10 years ago, like in 2004, and that sank like a rock because the fans didn't react to her because they didn't know who she was. And we're kind of getting the same thing here, and it's a shame because, Paige is somebody that has a lot of internet hype, and, I was really looking forward to seeing what they were going to do with her because I'd heard so much about her, and now it's just this kind of meandering, lame-ass title. It just feels like she's holding the belt just to drop it to somebody, and they're not really doing anything that interesting with it, and that's a little disappointing, but... and next up we had the main event, which was Daniel Bryan versus Kane in the Extreme Rules match. It was fun for what it was. I don't think it quite got over the way they wanted it to. Like the flaming table spot they did at the end was cool in theory. It wasn't executed all that well. Again, we're going into the execution. It wasn't like the best executed thing, and it looked so easy and so protected that. Although I did have to laugh. The fire extinguisher guy, it was like, really? You put the fire out after somebody went through the table? Why wouldn't you? I'm thinking within storyline purposes here, within the realm of the fictional universe. Realistically, wouldn't he put the fire out or try to put the fire out before somebody went through the table? But whatever, I'm nitpicking. But it didn't look as good as it could have, and... I don't know. It didn't look as good. Personally, I think the finish should have been the forklift spot where Daniel Bryan did the flying headbutt off the forklift. I thought that looked really insane and would have been a more than acceptable finish. I would have been perfectly happy with that. And the match dragged in places, especially when they went backstage, but they did some fun things too, and it was a decent, fun, hardcore match, and it was fun for what it was, and it was a different type of match for Daniel Bryan. You usually don't see him in matches like this. So it proved that Daniel Bryan could carry his own weight in different situations, and if you want to throw him into a gimmick match or something like this, he could pull it off to the best of his ability. He's not hindered by it. So overall, it was enjoyable. Daniel Bryan won, which was expected and fine, and the ending to the pay-per-view was really confusing because Daniel Bryan wins... Kane gets no heat on him at all whatsoever, yet the pay-per-view ends with Kane setting off his pyros and his music playing. And I'm just thinking, why is that the closing image of the pay-per-view? It doesn't make any sense. I know they want to continue the Daniel Bryan Kane thing, but they didn't set that angle up real well. They didn't do an angle. They just set off Kane's music and pyro for no reason, just to tell us, oh, it's not over yet. And they didn't really give us much of a hook there to really make it work. Or it's like you either end with Daniel Bryan celebrating, or you end with Kane beating the crap out of him and then standing over him with his music and pyro playing. You don't just set off Kane's music for no reason, because it just came off as a little awkward. But like I said, the main event was fun for what it was. It was fine. And Extreme Rules, like I said, I was happy with just about everybody that went over. It's just that the execution wasn't always that crisp or wasn't always that good throughout the show. That said, Shield and Evolution was awesome, and I highly recommend checking that match out. If nothing else, I do recommend seeing that match because that was really cool. That was the highlight of the pay-per-view. And it was just a very good match. As a follow-up to WrestleMania, it obviously didn't live up to WrestleMania at all whatsoever. It wasn't a terrible pay-per-view. Again, this is like one of the strangest pay-per-view reviews I've ever done, because it wasn't a bad show, but it wasn't that good a one either. And it's odd. It's just odd. There's no other way to describe it. But again, the show gave me nothing to get pissed off over outside of the booking of the cage match, which was just absurd. But, I guess it's okay for that. And, that's all I have to say about it. But, like I said, I've got 2 Godzilla videos coming up, part 4 of my movie review series, and then my reaction to the Legendary Pictures film. Those will be my next 2 videos. And then after that, I'll probably have a review of the Ring of Honor New Japan show, War of the Worlds, May 17th. I'm going to check it out, and hopefully I like it, because it looks promising. So we'll see. But until then, I will see you all later.